All right, let's get right to it. 3 reasons you should buy the crypto coin I'm going to talk about. 1, the company, and it's made in Australia, and Australians have the coolest accent. 2, they have kangaroos there, and I don't think any other country has kangaroos. 3, how cute is this? A baby kangaroo is called a joey. Those are the 3 reasons you should buy this crypto coin. That is financial advice. No. I'm Brian, big dumb animal, don't do what I do. That's my disclaimer. We are going to talk about Redbelly Network. I've talked about this one before. I want to discuss it again. Personally, with crypto, I think there's a couple categories that will do extremely well. I like AI. I really like decentralized finance and anything related to that. Borrow lend networks, exchanges, RWA. Tokenizing real world assets. They don't get a lot of discussion I've seen online. So we're going to dig into it. I'm going to go fairly quick, get to what really matters, and we'll talk about the pros and cons as we go, but I'll sum up at the end, and then you'll see what I think price-wise. Full disclosure, I own some of it. All right, CoinGecko, real-world assets, you got to scroll down pretty far. Now, why would I want to scroll down this far with respect to something like real-world assets? Well, because they happen to have, and they pop up on certain charts when they're comparing the amount of assets tokenized on a particular chain. They have $1 billion. We're going to see that in a second here. Here they are, number 1141. I'm using CoinGecko. If we go in and we take a look at what they have in terms of market cap, circulating supply is currently at $1 billion. Multiply it by 2 cents. The price is almost 2 cents. Gets you to $20 million market cap. However, they have 10 billion total supply, I should say. So only 1/10 of the coins are actually in circulation. I don't like that. So we got to dig into why is that. So if we look at, and I did this just on Grok to pull it up for me, who has their tokens, where is it? People would call this their tokenomics. Back in December of 2024 is when the token launched. So it's what, 5 months old or so at around, it looks like around 4 cents. For those that purchased, they said it was a community sale, verified community members, so they were available to sell right away. Then they talk about the team itself. The tokens have a 12-month cliff. And then they unlock linearly, that's good, over 24 months. Total vesting period, 36 months. They say there's about 60% of the tokens that aren't explicitly allocated to the ecosystem or community, probably some investors as well as team members, etc. Ecosystem community, about 37%, governance, a couple percent. They talk about this airdrop because the price has dropped dramatically. And I think there was an event back in January where a lot of tokens were made available in a short period of time. Listing and exchange rollout, like I said, that was December 17th. But here's one interesting thing, is that investor vesting. It says no information is provided on whether early investors or private seed sale participants have vesting periods or cliffs. That's not interesting. Here's what's interesting. They raised in December of 2024, $600,000 at 27 cents per token. All right, so theoretically, that group may not have sold. They could have sold and taken a huge loss because it's only at 2 cents right now. Or at 27 cents, they might sell and break even, or they may want it to go much higher. Now, the next thing, and I prefer to go to CoinMarketCap for the list of exchanges, is where can you buy this? MEXC, Gate.io, Uniswap was just added, may have been a couple months ago. That's a wrapped version of RBNT, which is essentially the same. So that was really good because people now can purchase it on Ethereum, because otherwise it's only on a couple exchanges. That's, in my mind, a con. If it's hard to find, it's hard to get, people aren't going to want it. Redbelly Network, what do? It's a layer 1. They actually worked with, I believe, a college there in Australia, and they have a patent, a US patent on, I guess, their layer 1, and they're essentially providing the underlying foundation. And then they have other companies building on top of that, tokenizing in various industries. The mainnet, it started in November of 2024. The first token was, as we said, back in December. There's 3, or I should say 2 major ones here. If we look at RWA, there's RWA.io and there's RWA.xyz. I think RWA.xyz is the more popular one, and I'll show you that at the end, but they don't currently list Redbelly Network. It's on RWA.io. So if you come in here, you can search, here's Redbelly Network itself. It doesn't have value lock. Why? It's not currently rolling up all of the companies that are building on top of it. I wish it would roll them all up here and show them in one place, but they don't. But they do show you things like the number of unique wallets. You can see daily transactions. If you look at daily transactions on this broad amount of time, like 2 years, it looks like nothing because they had this huge spike. But if you zoom in, you'll see that no, there are significant daily transactions, 6,000, 13,000. They had a spike. We go to Redbelly. We look at all the various companies down here that are building upon them. 2 of them make up essentially the 1 billion that's locked, and that is a lot. So we'll get into that. Liquidize is one. So what does Liquidize do? It says here the ability to unlock and manage the company's value. Essentially, my understanding is if you're a private company and your shares obviously don't trade on the public market because you're private, you can tokenize them, and it's an easier way of selling actual shares in your company. There's probably some regulations around that, how you can, how you can't, but unlocking the value of a private company, that's a big deal. If we look at on RWA.io, they actually show for Liquidize, and it says here, network, it's on the Redbelly Network. It's what it's built on top of. And they currently have about 740 million. The next one is called Hutley. Hutley is a real estate company, and they're tokenizing, I believe, rental contracts and whatnot. Here they are, Redbelly Network, Hutley. It shows their TVL. It's around 210 million. You put those two together, Liquidize and Hutley, and you're at about $1 billion in real world assets tokenized. They've got a couple more on their site. I was looking through every single one to see what I could find. Fireblocks looks like they're now on RWA.io, but it's not reporting yet. Why aren't some of these reporting? Well, I also did this quick search, and Grok listed this here, and it's showing, forget this one at the top for a moment, Hutley, real estate, rent rolls, property management income streams. That's what they're tokenizing. It says the deal was announced for 1.8 billion of rent roll assets. Currently, it's reporting online around 750 million. So theoretically, that could get up to 1.8 billion, which is doubling what they currently have, or what they're currently showing. Doesn't mean it hasn't been tokenized. It's just not showing up yet on this site. Liquidize said they were going to be bringing, oh, here you go, private equity shares, issuing ERC20 tokens that represent equity stakes. Brilliant. And they said, believe it could be 500 to 800 million, currently only showing 250 million. So both of these deals, the first one could double, this one could double or triple. Then they've got ones called Carbon Hood and Bluebird. Bluebird, one I showed, that has to deal with carbon credits. And they claim there's about 70 billion that could potentially be tokenized. It's in phases to migrate through 2025. So the on-chain TVL may show up at some point in time. They have one for ArcFi, fractional ownership of art, cars, and collectibles. These are all ones they've done deals with. They've onboarded them, and now they're appearing on these sites that show you how much is tokenized. And another one. All right, now lastly is this one called Redix. It has about 500,000. Now Redix shows up if you look up Redbelly Network on DeFi Llama. It's the only one that shows up. It's a decentralized exchange. It has about 500,000. They're not really in the DeFi space, in the traditional space of borrowing and lending and exchanges and all of that, but they do show up here for about 500,000. It's really the RWA that we're all interested in. So I'll just kind of skip over that. 2 things here on RWA. Let's look at XYZ. This is a listing of the top 10 in terms of RWA. It starts with Ethereum, ZK Sync, Stellar, Algorand, Aptos, Solana, all the ones you're familiar with. But like I said, on RWA.xyz, Redbelly Network isn't showing up yet. Hopefully that will be soon. So if you look at the exact same table on RWA.io, it's pretty much the same thing. They don't have the ZK Sync, but they start with Ethereum, Solana, XDC, and look here, Redbelly. They're showing 969 million at the moment. So Redbelly is up above Polygon, Base, Stellar, for tokenization projects, Arbitrum, Kanto, Optimism. That's impressive. So now let's talk about the market cap and the pricing and where do we think it could go. I always like to look at 2 things, like most people do. One, compare it to other companies. So these are ones. Now, these aren't solely RWA projects. Some of them a little more than others, but still you can look at them and compare their market cap, and then we can look at TradingView, the actual pricing. But if we've got Polygon, Redbelly, Base, Optimism, Stellar, we come over here and we want to pick any of them. I think on RWA.xyz it even had Avalanche. So coming over here and looking at the chart, there's Avalanche. I mean, there's the other ones, of course, Solana and whatnot, but let's just look at Avalanche. 14 billion fully diluted, whereas Redbelly Network is only 200 million fully diluted. So that's 1/5 to get to a billion, and 5 times 14 is a big number, 70. So it's 1/70th of the size. It's not an exact one-for-one comparison, but you get the idea. It's way off, in my opinion, because of the fact that it's got a billion. Now let's take a look at TradingView. And I have this on a weekly, so the bars are fairly large. It launched and it took off. My goodness, it spiked to, if this wick is right, around 90 cents. But let's just look at some of these in terms of closes here. That was around 40 cents. And it dropped significantly and is way down to about 2 cents. So if it just gets back to what it had in December, I always like to look at, if we believe the market's going to go much higher, the total market, and then the altcoin market is going to accelerate even more than we saw last November and December. If that's our base assumption, then theoretically, all of those cryptos will get back to their November, December prices. Hopefully go past them. But if we just hit November, December, well, 2 cents into 40 cents is a 20x. That's a 20x. Now, a lot of the crypto that we look at today, and we compare it to November, December, sometimes it's a 3, 5, maybe 6x to get back to November, December prices. This is a 20x. I think they're greatly undervalued. So let's talk about pros and cons. Here's what I think the biggest pro is. And that is that when you look at some of these coins, you can put them into 2 buckets. Bucket 1, the coin or crypto and the team talk about all the cool things they want to build and what it's going to be used for and how amazing the market is. And if they just get 1% of this huge market, that they're going to make all this money. That's the gonna and wanna, but they haven't done it yet. They're just talking about building it and hopefully people will use it, blah, blah, blah. Then there's another bucket, which is those that have actually done it. So in this case, you saw from the other chart that, for example, they've got 700 million from that one company, Liquidize. The deal was for 1.8 billion. Well, the 1.8 billion is hopefully going to happen, but the 700 has happened. The 200 and some has happened. So they have 900 million on chain. Not a, I hope 900 million comes and tokenizes on our chain. No, it's already done. It's already happened. Yet the price is not reflecting it at all. Whatever this 200 million market cap and a 20 million market cap, 200 million fully diluted is not reflective of the fact that they have $1 billion tokenized on chain, assuming that that's right. I have no reason not to think it's right. The cons, in my opinion, are they had that issue where they apparently dumped a bunch with that airdrop, whatever it was, and that was back, I guess, in January. But that shouldn't affect long-term the fully diluted price. But it may have had some effect with people psychologically when it kind of dropped the price because so much went on the market. I think the real issue is the fact that they're not easily purchasable. For me, I want everything on Binance and Coinbase just to start. And then there's 5, 6, 7 others that would be great. So I was very excited and I had bought some a while ago and I bought a little more when Uniswap and the wrapped version you could obtain through Uniswap on the Ethereum chain. I thought that was a big deal. But it would be nice if they could get on more networks, more exchanges. It would also be nice if they could get themselves on RWA.xyz, because I think more people look at that. But take a look, as we said, at 20x, and this gray is the volume chart. And typically, this bottom one here is called you call it a shelf or a ledge. But once you break through it, it looks like it's resistance, then it becomes support. And look how they continue to go up and get smaller. I think once this breaks through, if the market really turns around, it's going to have quite a run. But you're going to have to either get a wrapped version or use MEXC or one of those other networks. Hopefully they can get on more exchanges and fast. I think that would make a big difference. But I'm staying in because I do believe it's going to have quite a run. Hope that was helpful. I think this is an RWA sleeper. Hope we can all make generational wealth together with crypto. Have a good day.